Yeah, well, hopefully we'll have you on again. I'm looking forward to your next pick of couples in the woods having serious problems.
Okay, listen. I did Train to Busan. I did Ava's Possessions. I've only done 2 of the 4 movies that I've chosen.
50%.
And I didn't choose Spawn, so Travis.
And I didn't choose Spawn.
Hey, couples don't die in Spawn.
If there's anything I can take away from this is I didn't do Spawn. I feel like that's a lesson in life right there.
That's something you put on your resume. I didn't choose Spawn.
I didn't choose Spawn.
Your Honor, I may have killed those 3 people, but I did not pick Spawn for Netflix and kill. You gotta give me credit on that.
She's got a point.
Gripples were not my fault. The Gripples were not my fault.
The Gripples are the best thing that came out of that movie. Shut your mouth.
That's true. Actually, I will give you that.
And welcome to the UGO podcast, Netflix and Kill edition. Honeymoon edition this time, because we're talking with someone who just took a recent trip. Isn't that correct, Patience? Yeah, and that's the lovely tone of Patience. And who is who's pretty jelly right now because he hasn't been on a trip in forever? Why, it's me, Nick the Merc with a mic, and my fellow Unapologists,
Travis. And
we are here, of course, to discuss our killer movies on Netflix. And this week we had Patience pick one for us. What did you pick for us this week, Patience?
A fun little tale of 2 people on their honeymoon out in a cabin in the woods.
Pete? This isn't funny. Pete? Please! Pete! You okay? I couldn't find you.
Must be sleepwalking. I'm fine.
How's my little zombie face this morning?
I made the coffee. I could be human.
What's going on with you? You feel distant, different. Did something happen in the woods? What's this?
They're mosquito bites.
They don't look like bug bites.
You're acting crazy. You should leave. You're not safe.
What's going on? We need to leave.
You can't.
Where did you put the keys? Where are the keys? Who's out there? Who's shining the light?
I want to protect you.
Where's my wife? You look like her, but you're not her.
Tell me what's going on. Something bad happened to me. Something bad happened to me in the woods.
And I like this movie because I think me and Travis were thinking like, man, Patience must really hate going out in the woods. That must be really what scares her.
Or commitment.
Yeah,
We're not sure
there's like a theme here, isn't there?
or newly engaged couples out in the woods. Like it's like
You kind of seem to want them to die.
Honestly, I just hate love.
Okay. Actually, after watching the intro of this movie, I kind of hated love too.
What is love?
What is love?
Yeah,
Baby, do hurt me.
That was terrible.
So you want to run down just a little bit of the plot? Like, what's going on in Honeymoon?
Absolutely. So Egret and Dr. Frankenstein are freshly married, and they go to her family's cabin in Canada, and they're just, they're on their honeymoon, and like B is actually her character's name, not Egret, even though I can't not think of her as Egret.
Like, as soon as I saw her, I'm like, I recognize you. Where? Oh, there it is.
For those of you not getting the reference, it's Rose Leslie as Bae, and she, of course, is most famous from her wildling role in Game of Thrones as Jon Snow's kissed by fire lover.
You know nothing.
That's where the line came from.
I did, but in this, I loved it because in this movie, it was her, the one that was not knowing anything. Right. That was a nice twist around. I liked it.
And her husband's played by Harry Treadaway, who played Dr. Frankenstein in Penny Dreadful.
Penny Dreadful, that's where I know. I was looking at that guy, I'm like, I do not know where I know you from, but I know you from something.
Yeah, the first two, 1.5 seasons of Penny Dreadful. We don't talk about the last half of the second season. But yeah, so they're on their honeymoon. This is literally a film just about the two of them. The first 20 minutes is like, oh, we're so in love, and look at how much
really
sex we're having.
We clocked it at 15 minutes. At 15 minutes where we were like, oh, we're rooting for these people to die now.
Like, normally it takes a little bit longer in the movie before we start asking, how long is this again?
They are disgustingly cute and in love.
I actually paused it at 20, I think it was like 20 minutes and 15 seconds, and I was like, oh my god, enough of this. Like, let's get on with the movie. I don't want to see you guys, fucking in the shower anymore.
Someone needs to die.
Although, I'm not gonna lie, like, seeing her kind of half naked she's pretty.
It's not, the sex scenes were fine. It was everything else in between that was the issue.
Sure, yeah. It was the, like, oh, hey there, honeybee. Bzz, bzz. What sucks about that is that it's too real. Like, I've spent time around people like that, and it's just like, yeah, I don't want to spend any more time around them. Like, I watch movies to escape people like this.
Right. I mean, we'll forgive them because they are on their honeymoon, but still,
get over it.
It was a little much. So
it was very believable.
I was worried because the movie starts with them speaking into a camera about their how he proposed, because it was supposed to be on a camping trip, but she ended up getting sick, so he proposed while putting up like blankets above the bed, pretending and a pillow. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, that's cute, but it did worry me. I'm like, oh shit, is this a found footage movie where they're speaking into the camera? God damn it!
I would not do that to you. I take that back. I totally would do that to you.
Yeah.
My next pick is totally going to be found footage now.
Let's not have her on soon.
Well, hopefully, is Chronicle on Netflix? I'll do that.
Yeah.
Oh god, no.
How about so? I do like that we finally meet the two other people in this film. Another thing is that another common theme among Patience's picks is that there's only 3 to. I mean, at least this one has one more person in it than the last one.
She's moving up.
Since the last one had like 3 actors in it, no, it was 4. There was that guy in the beginning I forget about. So this one is like this one also has 4 people in it. And I think I see that a lot in some of these, indie horror movies now. Is just like maybe they just don't have the budget to like have like more than a couple people.
According to the IMDb page, the budget of this movie was estimated to be $1 million.
$1 million? That's pretty cheap. That's pretty cheap for a horror film.
Well, their gross is like 9,000 on it.
Oh. Yeah. That's a shame.
Well, it was only released, I believe it was released at South by in 2014, and it did quite well at South by. Everyone liked it very much, but it didn't actually have like a release. You know what I mean? It was just like, oh, here it is on Netflix 3 years later.
Yeah, that happens every once in a while. But so the inciting incident is basically that after we see mysterious white light, I believe that's on their first night, right? Their first night there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Bae starts to act different. Like, she starts to forget things, like she's making breakfast and she doesn't, like, batter the French toast. She doesn't
grind the coffee. She
doesn't grind the coffee to make it. She's acting a little weird. And I guess the rest of the movie is basically her husband, who's Paul. Paul is trying to figure out exactly what's going on and why his wife seems to be acting really weird and why she seems to be having lapses in memory. And, things get kind of creepier and creepier as the film goes on. And that's about it.
Pretty much the movie.
Like, that's pretty much all that happens if we don't want to go right into a spoiler section.
I mean, we can talk about the fact that the other two people they did meet, because we got sidetracked about actually talking about them.
Oh, yeah, that's right. My awkward transition. Yeah, well, we meet her old friend, her childhood friend, whose name I'm forgetting as well. Will
and Annie.
And his new wife, and he's freaking out in the diner. And it's like, oh, are they closed? And it's like, well, there's not anyone fucking here on this entire lake.
Right, because apparently there's only 4 people on this whole entire lake, because it's too early in the season for actual people to be out there or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna call bullshit on that right now. As someone has spent his time on lakes like that, it's like, sure, there won't be a lot of people,
but there's gonna be
more than 4. There's more than 4 people on that lake.
There's probably at least a groundskeeper.
You guys are like practically in Canada, so I'm gonna take your word for it.
We're South Canada.
Yeah, we're South Canada, like right underneath it. Like the tassels on Canada's hat. But yeah, like it wouldn't make a lot of sense for like just not a lot of people to be there. Otherwise, just like, hey, it would be a great robbing opportunity because like, hey, there's only 4.
That's a different movie that's happening in the background.
Yeah, I actually want to write a movie now about just like a home invasion gone wrong because there's nobody up at these sets of cabins, and then suddenly that person gets captured by like some crazy person there. But you know what? We're not writing a different movie right now. We're talking about this one. Movie. So yeah, I got to admit that I really like. The aspect I like the most about this movie is the paranoia set in by Bae because of just her weird behavior. She starts to, like... I do love that one of the first indicators is that he grabs a frog and starts to like make a frog voice at her, like, hey, I forget what he says, but like, do you want to be my dinner? Yeah. Or something like that. And she's like, why would you do that? You're not laughing. Why didn't you not find that funny? And I just want him to go, no, you find me hilarious. What is wrong with you?
This basically is the scene.
Who are you and what have you done with my wife? I am hilarious, and the fact that you are not acknowledging it is really freaking me out right now.
And he calls her like Froggy Krueger, which cracked me up because I thought that was really cute. He's like, what's the matter with you, Froggy Krueger? And she just like, I'm being a bitch right now.
Yeah. When really it's like she's actually having a hard time getting the reference because it seems to be she's starting to like just forget things. Like we see like her, like, what are some of the other things she forgets? She forgets the breakfast scene.
She starts calling things weird names.
Yeah, like, well, as soon as I mean, there's a scene where she's like, I put it by, where's your nightgown? Because he's wondering where her nightgown was that she was wearing the first night they got there. And she's like, I put it back into the clothes box. And it's like, the what? The suitcase. That thing. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I know exactly what's happening right now. Like, I call the ending of this movie, like, very quickly in because, well, man, I don't even know if we should, like, spoil it or save it for a spoiler section because as soon as the bright light hits in the cabin.
Like, basically the first scene. That's creepy.
Like,
it's like,
oh, I recognize this. Yeah. I kind of know what's going down.
Like, if you've seen any of the scary movies, you probably know what it is.
Yeah, so I mean, like, maybe it's because I watch too many movies or whatever, but I'm immediately, like, my suspicion is like, oh, that's what the thing is.
Yeah, I pretty much have the same thing.
And then once she says the word clothes box, I'm like, okay, that is definitely what is happening.
That was actually one of my favorite parts about this movie is, it's such a subtle thing, but it made such a big impact, I think, on like him being like, wait a second, what has happened to my wife? Because she starts like misusing words and she starts to like, you know, call things like clothes box and she's like, what do you mean? What's a batter? I don't know how to batter French toast when you're just like, okay, you just put bread on the griddle, you know? And and you really start to understand her sort of descent into madness when she starts like writing her name in a journal, like, I am B, my husband is Paul. And you're like, oh, snap.
Yeah, once you see that journal, it's like, oh, crap, shit is not right. Things are really going down. And I got to admit that's that is the element of this film that I really like, is just this, I can really sympathize with Paul and his paranoia.
But I almost really like the fact that Paul gets so paranoid, he takes such drastic measure times. I'm like, wait, which one of you is crazy again?
No, I do like that later in the film, he starts to like get nuts, because he just does not know what to do anymore, to the point where like he ties her up at one point to try and get answers out of her.
He breaks into Will's house.
He busts into Will's house. He's doing some crazy criminal shit, and yeah, it's hard to like blame him at first, because it's like there's something so clearly, obviously wrong going on. Like, it's like, okay, well, I got to do what I got to do. And
so, yeah, I think that was great too, is where, you're like, okay, wait a second. Which one of these guys is crazy now? Are you crazy? No, you're crazy. You're being crazy now.
You're both kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I thought the acting was pretty good too from both our mains. And I like the environment. I like the cabin. The cabin feels very much like a cabin out on a lake. Like, I felt like I've stayed in a very similar cabin to that. And there is like a creepy factor when you stay in a cabin like that, like with this kind of weird place off in the middle of nowhere where you know that there's not anyone else around.
Just that sense of isolation.
And we get some really interesting scenes later of like really creepily tension scenes of like, hey, there's someone outside. I think I saw somebody. He runs out with like a gun that came out of nowhere, and I'm like, whoa, where did that gun come from? I'm like, oh, well, they're up at a hunting lodge or whatever. Like,
that had a giant ass bear pelt.
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, there was a gun around.
There was
somewhere.
obviously a gun there. And I kind of like the fact that the penultimate paranoia scene is when he asked her, it's like, how were we married? And she gets it, like, when did I propose? And she gets it wrong. He's like, well, fuck it then. Fuck it.
Just fuck this. Like, because she tries to get it right, and she almost gets it, but it's fucked up. And he's like, fuck, this isn't right. So, like, yeah, like, the whole idea is just basically watching our protagonist try and figure this out. And if I had to criticize the film, it's that when we're watching a guy try and figure out a mystery that the audience has kind of figured out already, it takes him a long time to figure out what the audience already knows,
and I feel like
which is fine, because you have to assume that the main character has not watched as many horror films or not watched any horror films, basically.
I think we can pretty much assume anyone in a horror movie is assumed to never have watched a horror movie.
I like to assume that horror movies don't exist in the universes of horror films. Because otherwise
you're a parody.
Yeah, otherwise, the people wouldn't make the decisions that they do.
I think they should have just not done the light scenes.
Which ones?
Just the scenes with the lights coming in. With the cabin.
It is such a it's a creepy scene, and I get why they do it.
They should have just had someone outside the window, instead of having the lights.
Yeah, because when you get that visual distinction, and it triggers me, I'm pretty sure it's this thing. It's. Otherwise, I could have been like, oh, is it like a demon? Is it Evil Dead? Is there something possessing her? Is it a spirit? Is it a witch? Or is it more of a thriller, like with Will and Annie? Are they messing with them?
Right, because if they just made it an ambiguous shape, you'd be like, well, it's obviously Will and or Annie.
Yeah, and I guess it's just that white light that really indicates to me and takes a lot of the mystery element out of the film for me, that I felt like could have added a little more ambiguity to it. I'm not sure, Patience, where do you fall on that?
I 100% agree. If by using the lights, everyone immediately knows what's going on. We've seen that movie a million times. But if there had just been the silhouette in the window, that would have been a lot more ambiguous. Sorry about that. Ambiguous. And it would have just been a lot more powerful as far as the big reveal at the end. It would have kept us guessing a little bit more, but I agree. The audience immediately pretty much knows what's going on. For me, the biggest mistake this film made was that classic, we need to leave, but let me go do this one thing first.
I did love that, because I'm like, dude, he's got the bread in. He's like, okay, we're leaving right now.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Now, but
and then he's like,
Yeah.
But 1 second, hold up once. I'm like, God damn it.
Hold my keys.
Pack your clothes. I'm gonna go and leave you alone, even though you're clearly unstable, and I'm gonna go, like, and do this thing, and then we're gonna, like, for real leave. and then it's, of course, too late.
Shocking.
And I'm gonna leave the keys here with you. Now, you better not hide these on me. Trustees, all right? Pinky
Or,
swear.
even worse, don't set them down and forget where they are.
Yeah.
Even though
I feel like
you're...
giving the amnesiac a keys set was not the Bryce idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like classic, like, come on, people. As a horror movie fanatic and, you know, a horror film reviewer, like, can we just try a little bit harder when it comes to these things?
I mean, at least they, like, knock out right away that, oh, hey, there's probably not going to be any, signal service back here for our phones. Because every movie has to talk around that now.
Holy cow, it just occurred to me that there was no cell phones at all in the entire movie.
No, they mentioned it once.
They mentioned it once at the beginning and said that there was no self-service and just basically never bring it up again.
Mm-hmm. Which I actually kind of like.
Yeah, it's fine. Like,
I do like that.
It's a standard excuse that we use now, but it's like, what do you do for horror films? Like, that's the cell phone excuse is always going to be like...
You either have to write it out or make it a period piece. Like, that's what you have to do now.
I like to think that we should make basically make the standard horror film should be set in the 80s.
Yeah.
I feel like that would work a lot better. Yeah.
I feel like Cell would be a great movie to make now.
They made it.
I actually
Remember?
just watched a festival film called Super Dark Times that's been really popular in the festival circuit, and it's actually set in the 80s. And one of the things everyone loved about it was, like, there's no cell phones in the whole entire movie. And I was like, okay, that's the last thing that I thought about when watching the movie, but sure, okay, I get it.
Well, you said in the 80s, and you can do all the old horror tropes, and they feel more in place now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no cell phones, you can have a really misogynistic character that still is the hero by the end. You can have, really weak female characters, and people
Bad
just go
parenting.
like, if the parents even exist at all, like, somehow, like, the kids are just partying for no reason, we can be really racist to the black guy and just have that be part of the times. Like, it can, we can go through all the tropes and people will just go like, yeah, but it's like in the 80s, so we'll just let that go.
Jeez.
But yeah, that was an interesting element of this film, is I felt like it really could have been set at any point in time, other than the fact that they watched their wedding video. Which, like, on the digital, but even then, that could have been, like, on a VCR or whatever. Like,
didn't they say they had to use a VCR?
Yeah.
I thought it was or did they use a VCR?
Yeah,
like, when was this movie? Is this the 90s?
No, she makes a point of being like, oh, look at how super outdated it is. We have a VHS player. But they had, like, a video camera, like a little not even a GoPro, but, that they were...
And yeah, I really like the elements of this film, again, that are like that drive even more paranoia, which is like, her watching the tape so vigorously, which later you'll realize, like, oh, she's not watching it because, like, she's obsessed with the tape or whatever. She's watching it to try and remember like the details of her and Paul's relationship. And I like the scenes, like, where she starts to bleed, and it's like, oh, well, I'm on my period. And it's like,
no, you're not.
No, you're definitely not. Like, and it's the fact that and it's kind of weird because, again, that would have been helped with the ambiguity, because some relationships, they do have people that are just so blatantly bad liars in them. And it's like, yeah, I can tell that you're lying, but, like, why are you lying? Like, and you're lying so poorly.
Right.
Like, the lie is so poorly conceived.
Although I kind of love that scene where it's like, it wasn't the fact that she has so much blood coming out of her, just like, honey, I know your menstrual cycle, I know you're not on it, come on now.
Yeah. We charted this out so that we wouldn't be so that we wouldn't have to deal with it when we were up here. And I'm like, okay, you are a way too coordinated couple. Like, that is like...
Actually, that's a thing.
That is totally a thing.
It is a thing. I won't go into it. But one of my favorite parts was, and this is where you really start to be like, oh shit, maybe something really is going on here, is where he catches her rehearsing lines in the bathroom mirror.
I was just going to get to that. That's like one of my favorite parts.
And she's just like, oh, I have a headache. No, I took some Advil. Oh, no, I just don't feel so great. And and you're just like, what's going on? And then, he like pretends like he didn't catch her. And then later on, when he tries to, make the moves on her, she's just like says the exact same lines. And you're just like, oh, snap. And that's when I think he really realizes that his wife may not be his wife anymore.
But at the same time, like 5 seconds later, she tries to give him a blowjob. So that kind of confused me.
That was really strange.
Well, when you realize later, it's like, oh, she just didn't want him to be penetration because it was because she's got those marks on her legs. Like those bug bites, apparently, that bugs only bite in 3 dots in an exact row. Mm-hmm. Like,
I mean, I get why. It just still seems really odd to say, no, I have a headache, but a blowjob is on the table. Like, all right.
That's what I want to, because that'll clear my headache right up.
Yeah.
When's the last time you guys had a girlfriend?
I have not had that experience. I've had it where I've had a headache and then the blowjob made me feel better. But
I guess that's something that only women can tell us. So, Patience, you're on. Go for it.
No, that's the last.
Does it help with your sinuses? I don't know.
Absolutely not. The last thing I'm going to do if I have a headache is give a BJ. Just saying.
All right.
That's what I figured. Yeah. That is what I assumed.
No matter how much Advil I took, no, that's not happening.
I mean, it really gives me a headache. I mean, I hear that. I hear that a lot. But anyway.
I also like this movie is very sexual. There's a lot of sex in it because they are on their honeymoon, but there's a lot of uncomfortable vagina moments. Not just blowjob moments, but vagina moments. There's a point where she's, after she starts bleeding profusely out of her vagina and he's like, no, we counted the days. You're not on your period. There's a point where he catches her stabbing herself in the vagina and she's and you're just like, what the fuck is going on here?
A little bit by dysphoria there.
A mild spoiler. But so you just go ahead.
It does feel weird because you feel like he at certain points starts to yell and be like, what the fuck is going on? And then later they'll go to sleep and be like, hey, I didn't want to fight or whatever. I'm like, no. Keep yelling. This is not a scenario where you just kind of stop and go let's table this argument for later.
Let's sleep on it.
No. You just stabbed yourself in the vagina. What the fuck is happening? And I'm not going to let this go until I get a satisfying answer because I'm a rational human being and I wouldn't just sleep this off.
Nah.
You just stabbed yourself in the vagina. Let's go make s'mores.
It really does. Some of those scenes are I'm like, I don't get how anyone could do that.
No.
If you saw that, would you just be able to, sit out and just do some camping activities?
Frankly, if I saw anyone bleeding profusely from anywhere and they were not on their period, I'd be like, all right, hospital time.
We're going to the hospital.
You're going to the hospital.
When she tries a couple times, no, I'm fine. I'm like, no, we're definitely going to the hospital if I have to drag you there kicking and screaming. This, but I would talk about this usually would be our segment where we talk about our favorite kills of the movie, but this one only has I guess 2. One we don't really see.
Yeah.
But we get it implied. So we'll have to save that for the spoiler section. Most of this movie, if you're looking for possession, cabin in the woods, Evil Dead type thing where people have to fight demons in the woods or something, this is not it.
Nope, this is basically just a paranoia thriller.
Yep. And so it leads me to a hard thing to talk about the rest of this film because a lot of the rest of what I talk about leads directly to, spoilery elements of it. And there's just not a lot else that happens other than the build-up. A lot of it is build-up. A lot of it is the roller coaster building up the tension on the ride up, trying to get to that peak. So I'm actually kind of at a loss for anything else to mention. Patience, was there anything else that didn't quite work for you in the film that wasn't quite good? I thought the cinematography was pretty good.
Yeah.
It is a pretty film. The shots of the lake and there's some great shots of them on the boat that are just really nice. For me, I felt overall, the film is really about like relationships and that, getting to know each other, even though they're married and have alluded to living together for at least a year or two. So, but it's kind of weird. They're like, oh, we've been together, but yet we don't really know each other that well in a weird way. And I thought it made a lot of mistakes in that, because if you're going to do a movie about relationships, at least make it believable.
Well, they definitely had good chemistry, though.
Well, no, they have good chemistry, but I think what Patience is trying to get across is that especially with the lead of like the light chipping us off to what it is, this film could have been more interesting if they kind of figured out like if her inconsistency with her memory wasn't so readily apparent.
Yeah.
What if it was more like, oh, we don't know each other as well as we think we do, and it was alluding to maybe they just have problems in the relationship that they just don't know each other very well.
Or I was even thinking you could spin to a point where it's like actually is Paul being like just paranoid.
Or Paul being very paranoid and actually being the unreasonable one. But we know very early that is not the case.
Right.
So...
Well, my biggest problem was he makes a point of saying we're not like them, alluding to Will and Annie and how they weren't communicating or being really, really weird. He's like, we're not them. And then they're totally them, And so I'm just like, okay, you can't have it both ways. You can't be like, oh, we're not like most couples. We communicate. And then they totally just don't communicate. Obviously, because B is, under the influence of a thing. But
under the influence.
But still,
I like it like driving while intoxicated. Only if it's like possession. I'm sorry, sir. Have you been possessed by a demon and/or other entity recently?
Actually, we did watch that movie.
That was our last movie. Yeah,
that was Ava's Possession. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So she's under the influence of a thing, but still, it's like it takes him so long before he's like, okay, there's something wrong here, or maybe I should confront it. And then obviously he confronts it, and then he's like, okay, we're gonna leave.
Yeah.
But wait 1 second.
There's always that disconnect that comes with like one of these horror movies, and like some horror movies can negotiate that disconnect, but there's always that, but most of them do have this moment where you go like, once you see something like with her, the bleeding, that's the point where any rational human being would go, we're going to a hospital. I don't care what you
already.
say. Like, you're not going to talk me out of taking you to a hospital. Like, that's not, like, no human being would make that other decision. And then, of course, it happens again later where, no, we are leaving, but let me talk to this other guy first. And it's like, yeah, no one would do that. Like, no person would do that. And it's hard because they have a plot that they're trying to drive forward, but I'm like, could you have done, I don't know, something like maybe have it to where he lost the keys at first and he thinks that Will stole them or something.
Yeah.
Or something to drive it to where he goes there for a reason that I can get behind more, so I don't feel like you're just pushing forward the plot. But yeah, the only other thing I wanted to mention before we go into a spoiler section is I want to mention the ending is... for me, I'm not... it's going to be hard not to spoil it, but for me, the third act of this film is very short. Like, it is like... Once you think, like, oh, the second act is about to finish and we're about to rocket right into the third act, the movie basically ends.
Yeah. It doesn't have anywhere else to go.
And no, it really doesn't, and I understand that, but it did leave me feeling a little bit cold, like a little bit gypped. I'm like, oh, I thought we were just getting going. Like, we just got there, and now it's done. I don't know, Patience, what did you feel about the ending?
I agree. I mean, out of 87 minutes, there's no reason why they couldn't have given us just a wee bit more on the ending. However, I thought the ending was one of the best parts of the movie. Really? Because, yeah, I really did. I love the way that I can't just... We'll save it for spoilers, obviously, but I love the way that she resolved their relationship. That's putting it. Yeah, there's a way of putting it. And that just freaked me out. That's probably one of the reasons why I chose this film. is because that ending just kind of got under my skin and about how she's so out of it at that point and she is so disconnected and she thinks she's doing the right thing and you're just like, oh shit, this is fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that element did work for me as well, but I did feel like it's so abrupt. Like it's so like out of, like it's I don't know. I guess I didn't get a chance to get a good read on my emotions during it. But I don't know, I guess we'll go into you know what, I really want to talk about it, so we're gonna go into spoiler sections real quick. So we're gonna wrap it up here, and we're gonna give our final thoughts and ratings, and then move into the spoiler section. So we'll start with Patience. Why don't we start with you? What would you give this film as a final rating?
I do like this film. That's why I chose it. I think it has some solid build up as far as tension. The way it builds the tension is excellent. I did like the ending. I do like the weirdness in their relationship and the awkwardness and how it starts being like, oh, we're so lovey-dovey, and then that deteriorates throughout the film. I think this was a great freshman effort on the director's part, and I think this is like a B+ overall, so I'm going to give it like 8.5 quacks out of 10. It just needed gripples. That's all it needed.
It just needed
all
gripples.
Movies are better with gripples.
Hashtag gripples. Check for, man, remind me of our Spawn review. Love it. Anyway, Travis, how about you? What'd you think about it overall?
I feel like I actually like this movie better after I kind of thought I would after the ending. Because the ending kind of did like, oh.
No, I had to regroup after the ending because
Yeah.
I felt like a little left cold.
It was just so abrupt where I'm like, oh god. It's
over.
It's
done.
over. Like, it's almost like a roller coaster that hit the brakes, like, really fast. I'm like, ah!
Yeah.
Whiplash. Overall, though, I do love the paranoia aspect. I love the scenes. The characters have good chemistry, and that does help with the paranoia a lot. The biggest problem is still the fact that just if we've gotten rid of those light scenes, it would have made the movie way better, because you've been questioning it the whole entire time, rather than like, what's going on? Oh, that's going on. Alright. And the kill we get in this movie is pretty awesome, and I did really like it. It is very much an emotional impact that we will have to talk about later. Overall, though, just thinking about it and just actually kind of digesting the movie probably brought my score up a whole entire point, where I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Nice.
I did think this was a pretty solid movie that is still, any problems with it still makes it worthwhile to watch.
I think solid is a good word. I would take this movie up to the hilltops and proudly present it as it's okay. And the reason that I think I am felt a little distant towards it is just that there is a good paranoia element in there, but there's not a whole lot else in the film to sink your teeth into without that ambiguity, with that the lights kind of take away. And so I'm like, and for me, I'm like, damn it! If I had only like closed my eyes during that sequence, if I had blinked at that point, I could have really enjoyed this film a lot more. C'est la vie. And then of course, my queeniness about endings is much the fact that, of course, we're on the roller coaster, we're going up, and then suddenly it's like, finally it's like, oh, here it is, our character finally has the exact information he needs. And the movie, like, we start to go down, like, yeah, and then we stop, and it's done. I'm like, oh, damn it. I was just on this ride. Like, I was just getting to the good part. Like, this was the good, and, I felt like, yeah, it's a short movie. I'm like, you could have added on an extra 10 minutes. I feel like that would not have made the film feel overlong. It would have added a little bit more to the ending and given a little more punch, a little more time for me to absorb it. Because I don't like the feeling of being in the credits going, wait, what did I just watch? But that could just be me. So I'm going to give this film 3 bzzz out of 5. But with that, thank you so much, Patience. We're gonna go. We're gonna go right into this spoiler section. Before that, I just want to mention that you can find all of our back catalog of Netflix and Kills, where we've had Patience on before, as well as many other lovely guests. You can check that on our back catalog on iTunes. You want to help the show out, give us a 5-star review on iTunes. We'll read it on the air word for word. That is my guarantee on the regular episodes. And yeah, we have a bunch of other stuff on there. Our regular UGO episodes with interviews. We have movie commentaries we're starting to do now. We're going to try and keep those kind of regular, including Spawn.
Boo.
Boo, indeed.
I still regret nothing.
I regret everything. Patience, where can people find you?
You can find me on oneofus.net on highly suspect reviews and deliberations of Doom.
Woo, Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol in the house.
That's fantastic. And yeah, definitely give those shows a listen to. They're some of my favorites over on that network.
Oh, you're so
and of course. Well, that's just because of the I was almost going to spoil it. I was almost going to spoil this movie.
So close.
Yeah, so close. You almost tricked me. That's all right. But
He's just forgetting things. It's fine.
Wait. Anyway, I'm gonna go check out this bright light over in the corner for a minute. But we'll be back with the spoiler section right after this. And welcome back to the UGO podcast, spoiler edition for Honeymoon. So, I think I can spoil this one up with a picture that actually Patience sent me during the review here.
Spoiler: there is no moon.
I had to not laugh during the recording because I got this all on my phone where I was talking oh man, should we spoil it? Because we were being all vague during the review, and she sends me the History Channel the History Channel guy. Oh. Remember that guy?
Yes.
Where the History Channel started to do this crazy dude with aliens.
Aliens.
And yeah, that's the spoiler is that it's aliens.
I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
But it's aliens. And I love, what I love about this guy? Who does his hair?
It's amazing.
What is his hair? What is that on his fucking head?
He went and asked for the Albert Einstein, that's all.
We'll get to the movie in a second, but I want to get to the bottom of this motherfucker's hair right here.
Well, and it gets crazier as the seasons go on, so it's like...
No, Nick, you already know the answer. It's aliens.
The aliens?
Aliens.
Is it maybe you can't do a lot of product under those tinfoil hats. It's just not...
It's all aesthetic.
It's that static cling right there. But yeah, anyway, back to the movie. So anyone who has seen an alien abduction movie ever pretty much knows what's up once we see the white light in the window.
Scary Movie 3, was it?
Yeah. And
I was thinking Fire in the Sky, I think, was the first one with all the... Bloop, bloop, bloop.
Or even, there was even those scenes from, damn it! Now I'm trying to think of the movie. Absolutely
Invasion
famous.
of the Body Snatchers.
Invasion of the also that, but Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That is.
Yeah.
It's God damn! How can I not think of this utter classic of movie?
I think he might be infected by an alien appendage. Just
that's
saying.
The second thing I'm forgetting.
Yeah,
Travis, do we need to go into your vagina?
I do.
My name is
no.
My name is Nick. I hate non-endings. I don't like love triangles. My co-host is a jerk.
I mean, to be fair, he forgets things a lot normally, so I really wouldn't notice the difference for a couple of weeks.
My co-host's name is something with a T. Something. Hey, buddy.
Hi.
Hey, friend.
Don't mind me. I'm just gonna walk away now.
Run away. Don't give him your keys.
He can have his own damn keys.
So yeah, I really wish they just wouldn't have shown that light. Or maybe change the light up, because the light also is this pulsing kind of wave light, and it just makes me think of all those other scenes in alien movies, and I'm just I'm
actually kind of surprised dubstep didn't come in.
The Inception boom, yeah.
It's so funny because I didn't even think about that until you all brought it up, and yeah, you're right. If those lights had been taken out of the whole equation, the movie would have been probably 10 times better.
Yeah, because then you'd get the ambiguity of why is she forgetting stuff? Is it a demon possession? Is it aliens? Is it just them? Is it this thriller? Is it Will? Mm-hmm. What's happening? Is she a clone robot thing?
Or is Paul just fucking paranoid?
And is he the one going nuts? But as soon as the lights hit, you're just like, oh, that's it. Like it's a visual. It's a visual indicator to the audience of like, it's shorthand. It's like film shorthand. And I'm just confused as to why it's there.
I mean, maybe even if like he had woken up and seen it the first time and been like, oh hey, maybe it was him being possessed and it was actually, he's the one going crazy the whole time and he's actually like taking out his wife and he doesn't even realize it.
Yeah.
That could be a thing.
Well, and then of course, anyway, we get to the point where he does go to confront Will, and he doesn't find Will, he finds the wife with rope going onto a boat, and I'm like, any of that gonna raise any questions to you? That she needs a lot of this fucking rope on this boat? No?
What you need a rope for? Charlie Bronson's got one, and he always ends up using it. Sorry, wrong movie.
What do you need this fucking rope for?
Thank you.
You need a stupid fucking rope.
I got your fucking rope.
This movie could be improved by at least one Boondock Saint. Like, gonna get one guy in there.
I think Sean Patrick Flannery is available. He's always available.
I'm pretty sure Daryl is busy on The Walking Dead, but I'm pretty sure Sean, they're not calling him back for young Indiana Jones anymore, that's for sure.
Oh, I hope he's not listening. Okay.
Who knows? He probably doesn't have anything better to do.
We got a Twitter retweet going on.
We're gonna, you know what? With our fucking luck, with who likes our tweet, I forgot to mention when we have patients on here. A quick aside: we got a like and a retweet from the, I think the maker of Ava's Possession.
Really?
Yeah,
yes.
we did. Yeah, we did.
We did.
That's awesome. I missed that one.
And that one was a film we liked.
Yeah.
So finally
we got
Thank
one.
God, seriously.
Finally, we got one from a film we liked because the last one was like
Spawn.
from Spawn from Todd McFarlane Toys. When in the description, I said we subjected ourselves to Spawn.
I still feel like that has to be just an algorithm going out and just like
no human being could have looked at that like subjected themselves to. Well, it sounds like they had a fun time.
They had a blast.
Maybe it was just that like.
It.
Maybe just no one else was talking about Spawn anymore. And just like
maybe he just really liked Ripples.
Just like man. These guys might be trashing my movie, but that Gripple idea, that's pretty good. Kind of like I'm gonna market the shit out of that.
Trademark.
Anyway, back to this film.
Trademark Gripple.
Yeah. I guess there's one point, and this is a major spoiler. Near the end, and again, I want to reiterate, there's a lot of content about her vagina.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And, there's this point where it's
he
almost
I'm
like, was he fisting her?
Fisting
like,
her vagina.
He's like, how does this feel? Really? Your wife is tied up, manic, bleeding. She had just stabbed herself.
There was no consent for this.
in the genitals, and now you're going to like be like, oh baby, and you're gonna like, how does this feel? While like penetrating her vagina with your hands.
Yeah, it might have been one of the most awkward sexual scenes I've ever seen. And I've seen Team America, so I've seen two puppets fuck.
Yeah.
So, I've
seen a puppet defecate on another puppet.
What?
How?
Wow. That's a weird search history on Pornhub. That is,
It's in Team America.
Wait, he shits, like, wait, I do not remember that scene.
It's in the director's cut. The
okay.
Defecates on the other puppet's
I feel like you
God
had to search
damn.
that out.
You haven't seen the director's cut?
No,
Wow.
I didn't realize there was a director's cut for Team America.
Watch that tonight.
I don't know if I want to.
I'm not sure if I'm ready for that.
I think if we do, that would definitely have to be something we'd have to videotape.
If we watch that, what's next? Two puppets, one cup? Where does it end, Patience? Where does it end?
Two puppets, one sock.
Two puppets, one hand. It's a
dark place.
What are we even talking about?
I don't know. I think we're talking about the honeymoon.
I really feel like this isn't my fault, guys. I really do.
I think it is.
Honeymoon, the tangent film. But yeah, so he starts to fist her, and he starts to get this gooey substance.
What's going on? Yeah.
And she's like, don't stop, like, pull it out, and he pulls out this
tentacle
eel thing, and it starts to flip around, or like, no, it flips around after he leaves, and she somehow magically unties herself.
Yeah, didn't get that part.
Which I'm like, wait, how did that happen?
I mean, she could be slick from all the blood that poured out of her vagina, I guess.
I mean, I guess.
Or, you know, magic alien powers.
This was actually one of my biggest problems with the film. Was, okay, so he pulls this parasite, a quite large parasite, out of her vagina, and then he doesn't, like, kill it. He just, like, leaves it there on the bed next to his tied-up wife. Who does that? Like, that's, I mean, like, smash it, burn it with fire, like, do it whatever it takes.
He doesn't make very good decisions.
Flush it down the toilet. Do something, man. Get proactive.
And then she does magically release herself from her bindings. Weird.
Yeah, and so she does start to refer to herself as we. We see the same writings in Will's house with Annie, where she was trying to write stuff to remember who they were. He continues to confront her about stuff of like, hey, like that's where we get the moment where while she's still tied up, that she gets the proposal wrong, like the proposal story wrong. Like she does say like, well, we were camping or whatever. So you get the feeling that she's in there, but she's like her brain is fighting for space with the new entity.
Yeah.
And they're getting shit confused and jumbled. Like, and it's really hard to like, it's like not like she's a clean slate, but it's hard for her to think and remember shit. So it's kind of still her, but not.
Well, it's kind of like she's being assimilated into a hive mind.
Yeah.
And she's trying to like, oh wait, no, I can still do this, and she really can't.
Yeah, and it kind of culminates with the final confrontation where she starts to yell like, they won't allow me to tell you this thing. I've been trying to protect you. I wanted these couple last days to be special.
And then like, I'll save you.
I'll save you and I'll protect you. And as soon as she starts to say that, I'm kind of like, you better get the hell out of there, buddy. Because crazy, you don't want crazy people's protection. That's never usually good. And so she, through, I guess, alien super strength, knocks his ass out with one punch. And just was like, okay, I guess I'll buy that. And he wakes up in a boat tied up. And I really wanted it to be like a comedy after that. I wanted Will to be in a boat tied up in the next, right next to him going like, you too, huh? Yeah. And then just like everybody that was on the boat, like everyone's husbands is just tied up on these boats. Just like, fuck, like how do we get out of here? But no, it's darker than that.
It's way darker.
No, because she's there, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on? Don't worry, I'll protect you. We can't go to. I have to hide you somewhere where we can't find you, and that's the bottom of the lake." And he tries to explain to her, "I can't breathe it underwater." But I feel like once you have to try to explain someone that you physically can't survive underwater,
it's too late.
I feel like I feel like it's gone. I feel like you've lost the thread of logic there.
And I actually kind of did like the fact that scene's also a callback to an earlier scene. Where, like, they're out on the boat, and, like, he just basically lets the anchor go.
Yeah.
And, like, just lets it fall. Like, no, you have to tie it, and it shows that she's very proficient at tying knots.
Yeah.
So they actually do set that up, which I'm like, you know what? Kudos for that.
Yeah, and, I thought that was gonna lead into it, too, because she does, like, after a long, him fighting and pleading with her, kick his ass over with the anchor tied on, and he drowns. Like, that's basically it. Like, that's it for him. And I thought it was gonna go with, because she lost her muscle memory with some of the other stuff, like making the coffee and making the French toast, which are things you don't really have to think about in the morning because you've done them so often. And she can't even do that because the hive mind is fucking with her. And I'm like, well, maybe it affects her because she's really proficient at knots, but with the hive mind fuck with her, maybe she also didn't remember to put the knot at the end of the anchor or tied it in a weird way where he could get out. But nope, not what happens.
Nope.
Just dies, and then we get another scene with her looking even worse later, because she looks progressively worse and worse throughout this film. And then later we get a scene with her and Annie kind of meeting up with their alien overlords to, I guess, go off into space.
I don't know what their plan is, dude.
Maybe they were trying to breed. or something. That's what I got out of it, because if otherwise, like, you know, the vagina metaphor and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe they were trying to assimilate into human society. I don't know. Like, that's the point where I'm like, man, I wish our protagonist would have survived in another 10 minutes at least, so I could get a couple more answers and maybe just a little more, I don't know, a little more confrontation, a little more, I don't know, a little more resolution. I don't know, Patience, what did you think about it?
Yeah, I'm definitely mostly agree with you. I actually liked the ending. I thought that it needed to be abrupt because we have this big, huge buildup that is taking a super long time. I mean, the first 20 minutes is establishing their stupid relationship. And then we have, you know, another 30 minutes of like the second act of where you're like, okay, who's the crazy one? And then all of a sudden you're just like, bam. And she's like, I'm going to hide you. I got to hide you from us. I need so that we can't find you. And she's so disconnected. She's so, like, at that point, she's mostly alien, I'm going to assume, because, you know, at one point she's like, I'm losing myself. I'm losing B. I'm losing B. And right before she knocks her husband the fuck out. And, I think it was with the video camera as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she does hit him with, like, the video camera.
And so she's just like so out of it. She's no longer human at this point. And she just is like, I need to hide you. And she doesn't understand how Earth works at this, you know, she just, I'm going to just put you where we can't find you. It just happens to be a place that's going to kill you. And that last moment where he's just like, no, I can't breathe underwater. I can't breathe underwater. Which relates to her talking about the worms and the frogs before when she's fishing, and like, she's like, the worms can breathe for 5 minutes underwater or whatever. It relates back to that. But he's like, I can't do it. And she just is like, doesn't even listen. She doesn't even say goodbye.
No, because she doesn't think he's going away forever. He's just going hiding.
Yeah. And that is, I thought, one of the better parts of this film, for me personally. It was definitely brutal to watch.
And it is dark.
Yeah, it's very dark.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was halfway paying attention because I was watching the Team America uncut sex scene that Patience has now sent me.
Sorry, I probably shouldn't send you guys stuff while we're recording anymore.
I'm glad you don't have my number because I don't want to see that.
No, he's going to show it to you in a minute. So.
No.
Yeah, it's going to be right after.
He's going to forget that. If it takes a camcorder hitting him in the head, he will forget that.
I think I would like, because this ending is dark and it's brutal. I feel like it's so abrupt, especially since it comes right after he gets the revelation of that, like, oh shit, Annie's doing the same thing, and we get like the realization that what's in her notebook, except the fact that the audience has already seen the notebook, and it was enough like, oh, we already know what's in the notebook, and from the lights we already know what's happening. And I think maybe the ending would not have left me as cold if I had been so ambiguous, and it would have been like a real gut punch, like, oh, that's what's happening. Oh shit, and now it's over. Like, oh no. But instead, I'm kind of like waiting for him to figure out, and then once he figures out, it's over. Like, he's dead. I'm like, damn it. And I'm not a super big fan of movies that end with everybody dying. Like, it's not my particular cup of tea.
I mean, technically, we didn't see B and Annie die.
Mm-hmm. No, well, we didn't, but, like, you know, shit did not work out for them, that's for sure.
Maybe you should rethink your podcast choices. I mean, Netflix and kill.
I like to be I like to have one survivor. I like to, even if it's just the killer. But no, this one is by no means the worst offender of like that ending I've ever seen either. It's just the fact that I was just confused as to what the movie was trying to say overall, like about, you know, knowing yourself and knowing your partner and your relationship. I felt like the metaphor was a little bit muddled and a little bit lost. But otherwise, I thought it's like, again, like Travis was saying, the film is very solid, solid filmmaking overall. But yeah, is that pretty much all we wanted to spoil?
There's not much left to spoil, really.
That was pretty much it, huh?
Yeah, I mean, everyone dies or gets taken
wiped.
to, or some sort aliens.
Aliens, what do they do?
I do like this movie as a solid horror sci-fi film. I think that, like I said before, the tension builds. The ending is very difficult to watch when she kills her husband unknowingly. And I think that's probably what got under my skin, was that she's just like, doesn't realize she's killing him. And it's
see you later, honey.
Yeah, and I thought that, like you don't like how abrupt it was. I actually like how abrupt it was. But overall, I think it's definitely a film to check out on Netflix for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment, and I don't think it'll be it's definitely not a waste of your time. Like I don't feel like I need to get that, especially since it's so short. Like, it's so like it's just 90 minutes. It's like it's not going to be a waste of your time. You're,
like Zodiac.
Like I wouldn't.
Zodiac's way long. If Zodiac was 90 minutes, it would have been fine. But we're not getting to Zodiac. It's a completely different review.
You know what? I would bump up my rating actually. You know what? Because I would actually prefer an abrupt ending to Zodiac.
All movies now get a +1 because of Zodiac.
And suddenly it's over, and Jake Gyllenhaal is just drowned, and his wife is actually possessed by aliens. Okay, cool. Does it get me out of here an hour earlier?
It does.
Fine. Whole extra star, Zodiac. But anyway, since we're done trashing Zodiac and Spawn and some of our other previous Netflix and kills, how about we say goodnight? Thank you so much again, Patience.
Oh, thank you for having me. And from now on, I think your special hashtag should be Gripples.
Yeah, hashtag Gripples.
Gripples.
I think, you know what, we'll mark this one up with the hashtag Gripples as well, even though it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So, Honeymoon, hashtag Gripples. We'll go see it later. We'll do the review, hashtag Gripples.
Oh, man, I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. But it is amazing.
See, now I'm imagining like party favor nipples, and I'm like, no, why?
Like that little that New Year's party thing, like on your nipples.
No.
But on too
far,
too much.
On that lovely note, we'll say goodnight, farewell to you, dear listeners. We're on Unapologists Geek Out, and we're out.